Hello and welcome to Jesus for Asia Now. I'm Natalie Wood and my husband John is joining me today. Hello, love.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
And I'm looking forward to this show
Yeah.
because we're talking about something we don't often talk about,
Right.
but it's really important.
Yes.
So what
yes.
is that?
Well, it's Bible worker training.
Okay.
Yeah, training our Bible workers and how to share the gospel and how to do soul winning and how to actually run a church.
Okay, well, before we go on, you're very sparkly today. I'm sorry to embarrass you because I'm very plain today. Some days I'm the
Well,
sparkly one, but
you
today
have a
you're
design
sparkly.
in your clothes, but I bought this in India and I bought it on the streets in Mumbai and I didn't realize it was quite this sparkly, so I'm a little self-conscious, to be honest.
Oh, well, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't distract too many people.
Right. So back to our Bible worker training program.
Right.
We have a couple, some friends of
Yes.
ours, that have a burden for training people to tell others about Jesus
Yes.
in effective and simple ways,
Yeah.
and also to do basic medical missionary training.
Mm-hmm.
So how did they get started? I mean, it's 4-month training, right?
Yes, 4
And
months.
full days every day except Sabbath for 4 months.
Correct.
So how did they get started? How did this couple get started with this training program?
Well, God called them. They were doing well. They were retired and retired happily in Northeast Washington. And the Lord called them into the mission field, and they were unsure, but they heard God's voice pretty clearly. So they went to one country for a while, and they started training the locals in how to give Bible studies and how to give presentations and how to make it engaging and interesting and fun.
And
then
simple health talks.
Yeah. And then that kind of closed up, and so they started looking around and saying, what else can we do? And they realized there was a need for Bible worker training. And so they started in a different country. And so they started looking into what materials are available. And they started to realize that there's nothing really available as far as a training program that's been adapted to the local culture. Okay, so there's lots of things that have been brought over to, let's say, for instance, India, and like health messages, you know. And one of the things that they say a lot of times in these health messages, health trainings, are you need to bake your own bread.
Yeah. Well, they do that. It's called chapatis.
In the north,
Right.
but they don't bake bread, and
right.
they don't.
It's not loaves
They don't have
in
yeast.
an oven like that. Right.
But like, what are the health concerns in that country versus what we have here?
Right.
For instance, in some of the countries I've been in, I've seen pastors wake up pastors at 10 o'clock at night to eat a big, heavy meal. And they have the idea.
And us too.
Yeah.
Woken us up to go.
And they have the idea that you can't go to bed on an empty stomach. That's not
Yeah.
healthy. And so there's different kinds of needs. Some people don't know you should wash your hands. We've seen a lot of times they'll be cutting up the vegetables on a knife that's sitting on the floor, and they'll be holding the knife apparatus down with their foot. And so there's just a lot of things that really need to be addressed that we don't think about here in America. So they spent 5 years developing a program that's specific to the needs of the local people, not just health, but also filling in gaps of Bible knowledge. You know, how is the world created? What is faith? What does it mean to have a relationship with Christ? What is prayer? How does prayer work? How does a devotional life work? How do I read the Bible?
What does it look like to have a devotional life?
Yeah, all that stuff. So a lot of times people will get converted, but they don't know how to maintain a prayer life, for instance.
Yeah.
And so they spent 5 years putting this together, and they came up with 4 books. And
It's story-based lessons too, which is really neat. It takes the Bible stories and draws out the principles, the doctrines, shows who God is through the stories.
right.
So it's really a valuable series of materials.
And it's been really effective. And it's a 4-month program. They do it about twice a year. And it requires the students to know English.
Which is a challenge for some of them.
Right. Obviously, they can only take people that know English. They can't.
Yeah.
Most of our Bible workers do not know English. But the vision is for the ones that come to learn, and then they go and they train the people in the places that they're from.
Right, in their own languages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we get people from all over the country coming, and other countries.
Yeah, in other countries. We've had a few from other countries come in.
Yeah, and they get the training and then they take that back, and they're really very, very thankful for that training.
Yeah, which is neat because now one of those countries that was able to send people in, now they're doing the training program there also.
Yes.
Which is a huge challenge, but yes, they're doing it there, so it's expanded already.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, and so even though their English is required, and they also charge a fee for the training, every single session has been packed out. Mm-hmm. There's been a waiting list of like 50 to 60 to 80 people that aren't able to attend because they only allow 40 people per session.
Yeah, which is still a lot when you only have a couple people teaching. And
yeah, so it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that this couple is living their retirement in a foreign country, in an area that's hard to live in.
Yeah.
And they're sticking with it because they see the fruits. They see the results of the people that.
So the story that we're going to focus on at this point is from a young man named Athui, mm-hmm. and he's from Manipur area, and he actually went to our Manipur school up there.
Yes.
And it's called EBS, English Boarding School. Mm-hmm. So let's watch the first video now.
Okay.
The school out here, the English Boarding High School, it's a school where I have attended for 2 years, my 3rd and 4th grade. I've been here. And during our days, it was a thatcher's house with bamboo and other stuff. And then after we left, I've left the school for quite long. And then I came back maybe after 5 years or 6 years so. I came back and, you know, there has been a lot of changes that I've seen, infrastructure-wise, the systems, how they run it, and things has changed. And I see that God is leading, and I see that there is a lot of improvement done out here. And I thank God for that. It is one of the oldest schools out here in the Khao Pum Valley. And then during this past year, it has had a lot of impact for the people out here in the Khao Pum Valley. Of course, there are a lot of graduated officers, there are a lot of doctors and nurses who is a product of the school. And I still feel that the school still has a potential to produce a lot of people to work in God's vineyard in different parts of the work field. During our times, there are a lot of the one whom we study together. There are few nurses, there are few doctors who are under training, and who are also already employing. And even though you might not have seen a dramatic change in a short span of time, but I think there would be if this school improve as the year goes by. There can be a lot of changes in the young people, and that can lead to God in different part of their life too.
Yeah, so he only spent 3 years at that school, but right. He has a lot of hope for it. So it's neat to see his optimism about the school.
Yeah, and it's nice to see somebody that went through that school, because we don't get that a lot. I mean, we get a lot of testimonies of who's there now.
Right.
But we don't get testimonies after they've left very often.
Correct.
So, and it's really neat that he's now one of our Bible workers.
Yeah.
That's especially special.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another video.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more of his life story.
Okay.
I am stationed in a place where it's called an unentered area, where there is no Christianity. The people who live there mostly are a tribal, but who do all the tribal rituals, and those are the type of people that we are trying to reach out to them prayerfully. And of course, it's a place where it's unentered, and Christianity is not very pleasant to welcome out there. So we are trying our best, and then we hope and pray that God will lead us to the longing soul. Our family is one of the pioneers of the church out here in Khao Pum Valley. And then my grandfather is the first church elder of the church. But then due to some, leadership issue, few of my dad's brother, they backslide from the church. And then my dad stood firm, and he wanted to remain as an Adventist. And because of that reasons, we doesn't have any property. Our property are taken away. So this is one thing that make me realize when I grew up, what is there so special that my dad took to stand as an Adventist? And then we don't have land, we don't have property, we don't have our paddy field, we don't have our plot of house, but then we doesn't go out of food. We have the same meal they eat, we have the same food they eat. So I was thinking, what makes my dad stood this? And as I grew older, I have the visions that, okay, I should fight for what my right is. But I think my dad sees something. He has his vision for me, I guess. And he wants me to go down south in Tamil Nadu. That's where that really changes me. I started to realize things in a very different way. What's so important when you have all the worldly things and if you can miss the heavenly thing that God has given to us. And then my dad told me, why don't you go down to Spicer? I said, okay. I don't know nothing what I would be doing. And then one of my classmates from high school came, and then I was not really interested to go and take the admission form and other stuff. So I told my friend, can you get like an admission form for me too? So he got a form that is to take bachelor's in theology, not knowing that it was a theology course. So after I fill up, I said, okay, let's continue, let's go on. Out of nowhere, I got a call to work in Manipur conference. And then COVID hit, and then things doesn't work out well. So because of the financial issue, they can't employ us. So I stayed home. I stayed home almost for a year or two, not knowing what to do. Then they said there's a place where you can work as a Bible worker. I was thinking maybe this is a place to start, and that's how I start to know about JFA and then what they do and how they function and how they employ Bible workers. So I think as of now, I'm blessed that I've been into this mission.
So,
Wow.
interesting story.
Yeah.
How he just wasn't sure what he was going to do, and then the Lord moved in.
Yeah.
And this is an issue in that area, is there's a lot of religious conflicts. And so when his family decided to stay true to the Bible and to the truth, they lost all their property.
Yeah.
Then his father saw that he was kind of getting into fighting, and this is a big deal. You know, a lot of the people get into the army and start fighting intertribal warfare.
Well, and actually, there's a war going on now in that area in Manipur.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And so his father sent him away down south.
Yeah.
And then now he's a Bible worker, and he's a warrior for the Lord.
Right.
And his weapon is his Bible.
Right. Yes. And you know, it's such a blessing to see the heart of these Bible workers. I mean, he was just kind of like, okay, I'll go to Spicer, get me an application. And then it was the one for theology. And he's like, oh, okay. You know, he kind of went with it anyway, even though he might have chosen something else had he realized there was a choice at the time or whatever. But God is using it to reach out to people.
And now he's happy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Praise the Lord.
So then he got to go to the Bible worker training recently.
Yes.
So we have a video from that time now.
Okay.
There is no food, what I'm going to do?
It was a coordinator for Jesus for Asia from Manipur conference that called us that Jesus for Asia has sent a letter that encouraging the Bible workers to go down for the medical missionary. Traveling itself, it becomes a miracle for me. Financially, we were not stable. And then on top of that, what happened was we planned to go by train, and then there was a flood in Assam, and then there was a railway track and everything was carried away, they said. So we can't do it. And then prayerfully, I started to inquire with my parents, and then they said they had some little amount of money and they give it to me. So I booked my flight ticket that goes to Bangalore. And then from Bangalore, there was a friend of mine, my high school classmate, who paid for my taxi from Bangalore to Hosur. And all these things happens, you know, in a blink of an eye, within a day. And then once we step in there was a big banner that they has, and it says, "We are His hands." And that makes me to think, we are His hands. And then after I finished, I realized that I came handicapped. But then as I graduated, I realized that we are his hands to serve the people. They taught us the history of Christianity, how the Waldenses and other stuff, how these our church fathers and other pioneers get persecuted, and because of persecuted, how the gospel has spread, and also how our Adventists form after the 1844 disappointment and other things. And on top of that, we were taught with 4 series of books like Experience the Way, Share the Way, and Find the Way. Then that book has has really impact on us how to give Bible study, and I think that is one of the best books. And also they taught us about how the New Start work. They call it the 8th Doctor, and how these things can be implemented in any kind of disease and any kind of lifestyle to be changed. Also, they taught us how to reverse lifestyle diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and things that caused by our lifestyle, how to reverse it in a very natural way. And also we were taught to do massage, and I think that is one thing that I love the most. To be a dummy. I've been a dummy for a while, so that's one thing. There was a guy who come to me who has a fatty liver, and then I have studied it, but I have never experienced it in a very practical way. So I thought, okay, this is the time to do what I've learned. And then he has a fatty liver, and it's all a hydrotherapy, it's all water treatment. It's just a fermentation that keeps in the liver. And we did it for 14 days, and the fatty livers, it has went down so much. And the doctors out there were shocked. And in 14 days, what did you do? I said, it's just a water treatment. And I was shocked and she was shocked. And I think that's how, God's works when we do the natural remedies prayerfully. That's one thing. And also we were taught of how to do a few of the natural poultices, like the charcoal poultice, potato poultice, and cabbage poultice to cure certain diseases. And when I was working my internship in the Adventist hospital in Aizawl, there was a man who got a big scar in his calf. And then there was already a pus inside. And then they told me, is there any way you can do something with the poultices? I said, I am not sure. I've never done this, but they have taught us, so I can do. So did they ask me, is there any side effect on it? But as to what they taught us, there's no side effect in it, so we can try it. So we do the charcoal poultice. And then the swelling went down within 3 days. And then, those are the things that I've experienced. And I think that is what God has given us in a natural way.
Isn't that cool?
That is really neat.
It's like they did the training and then right away you got a couple of miracle stories.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the neat part, because their time includes an internship.
Yes.
Where they're nearby to where they're doing the training, and they can, have that feedback and that assistance from a not too far distance.
Right.
And if needed, the trainers could go and help them if they needed to.
Yeah.
So it's just really neat to see that.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Inspiring,
program. Yeah, very good.
And I just wanted to mention the name of the project is Life-Changing Stories.
Yes.
And so if someone's looking to for more information on our website, that's the project that's doing this training.
Correct. Yeah, life-changing stories.
Yep.
And it truly is life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's another project that's also doing similar training in another country.
Uh-huh.
And the project originally started in India.
Mm-hmm.
So the name of it is Health and Life for India.
Uh-huh.
But it's moved to a different country now.
Right.
So just ignore the fact that it says for India.
Right.
It's for other countries as well.
Yes.
So
and pray for that lady specifically. It's a young lady, and they're having problems with drought.
yeah,
And
they need water. And a lot of people were recently sick with typhoid.
She got typhoid too.
Yes. So they need our prayers.
Yeah.
For sure.
And she's by herself, leading the
Yeah.
program all by herself, but doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. So keep these people in our prayers.
Yes.
That's what we do here.
Absolutely.
So I want to go back to Athui and his story,
Okay.
because there's a little more.
Okay.
It's talking about how he's applying that now back in his position in Manipur.
Very good.
there was a class that says if you have bitterness in heart, it's like you drinking a poison and you expect someone to die. And then that really stunned me. And it makes me think so much. And then when the teachers taught us about this, I realized that's one thing. When we have bitterness in our hearts, that doesn't affect the person whom we have, but it's affecting us. We drink the poison and then that's how it is. But that thing has taught me, and personally, I have a lot of bitterness in my heart, like of my family background, but of what it had done to my dad and to our family. And once I go there, I've experienced and I've learned that forgiveness is the only priority, and it's the only way that you can lighten your heart. And that has taught me, and I think that is one of the biggest changes that has changed me after going down there. Before, as a Bible workers, when we work, there was a lot of people who comes and asks us like, we have headache, we have these things, do you have medicines and other stuff? Because they feel like missionaries knows few things. That's how everyone thinks, that like we know few things in a very little, but everything, that's how they always expect. And then for all the answers we doesn't have when it comes for the physical need. And then that must be one of the platform that has really impacted me when I finish this, my medical missionary training. So when I come like for certain like cold and cough and certain fevers and other stuff, I would have the remedy what they have taught us, and that is not to be bought, but that's whatever is there in the kitchen. And going down there, I have learned a lot. I think that 3 months of learning and experience things there had taught me more than I learned the 5 years of my theology studies, because the mission, the vision, the perspective, everything changes when I comes there, because they have taught us how to reach people that can be much more practical than to be much more theoretical. So this medical missionary had equipped me more and had taught me who Christ is, how I can have a personal relationship with Him more so that I can serve Him better and I can know Him better. So once I know Him better, I get to walk with Him closer. So that has taught me a lot.
Powerful testimony.
Yes,
Yeah.
very.
So this is something that we really want to promote and expand. And again, take it into the local languages. Right now it's only taught in English. We need to have funds to be able to sponsor people like Athui to be able to teach it in Manipur to other Bible workers so that they can also have the benefit of that teaching.
Right. So this is where our Bible Worker Training Fund comes in.
Yes.
It enables Bible worker training of any kind.
Yes.
And different units request help to sponsor for Bible worker training because the workers many times have to travel, have to have food while they're there, maybe lodging if there's not room at whatever church or section office they're meeting at.
Yeah.
So, and you wanted to share some more about our Bible worker training program.
The fund is so important because one of the reasons we struggled getting proper training is just the cost.
Yeah.
The cost of transportation, the cost of food, housing, all that stuff is surprisingly expensive being in some of these countries that are relatively poor, but it's a hurdle. And so having this fund in place really, it not only grows the church numerically, but it grows the church qualitatively. You know, they have a deeper connection with Christ. They have more knowledge about Christ. They're more cemented into the truth and into the foundation that we hold so dear.
And it gives them more tools to work with.
Absolutely.
And we have a special person coming to join us.
Yes. Yeah, there's a pastor from Washington State that's joining Jesus for Asia, and his focus, his specialty is training. And he's developed a training program that teaches Bible workers how to be church planters, and not just how to operate a church, but how to teach the members how to run the services when the pastor or when the Bible worker is not there, which is so important because I know there's one section in India, for instance, where they have 80 churches and only like 20 pastors and maybe 15 or 20 Bible workers. So it's like there's a huge, there's a lot more churches than there are workers to
Right.
nurture those churches. So it's really important to enable the local members to do the church services, because a lot of times if a Bible worker or a pastor doesn't show up, they just don't have church.
Yeah. Yeah. So to enable them, to train them,
Yes.
and to equip them
Yeah.
to be a part of God's work locally.
Right. And we've wanted to provide projectors with, some of these projectors come with an SD card that you can actually run a presentation right off of that card. So you can have a sermon from a pastor and just set it up in a church and people gather around and they listen to that. But some of our Bible workers don't even know how to, we have to have training for how to operate a projector.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the training is such a vital part of the whole effectiveness of the work. If that training isn't there, then the local units, a lot of the local units will, when the Bible workers come in every month for their paycheck, they'll get a day of training or 2 days of training, so the refresher course, and keep them going.
Yeah. One of the things that's most important about the training is that they don't have all the tools that we have over here. They don't have all the indexes. They don't have all the commentaries. I mean, we
Right.
have so many commentaries in English.
Right.
So if they can read English, then they can get access to commentaries and stuff like that. But,
Yeah.
you know, for Ellen White's writings, for,
Even a concordance.
yeah,
I was surprised when I learned that most of the Bibles that they have don't have concordances.
yeah,
And so they're thumbing through and they can't like go and search for something. They have
Yeah.
to find it manually.
which is one of the good reasons for these books, these story-based Bible study books,
Yes.
because it helps them to know where to find the different stories and
Right.
and all of that. And
Right. And even finding the meaning in the story,
yeah,
you know. And this is the challenge that we have, was getting the spiritual books into the local languages. And there's some ministries that are doing a great job of that. But there's so many different languages.
right,
We just need a lot of prayer for being able to supply our Bible workers
with the tools.
And this is what the training can do, is as they're trained, they're then provided with those tools. And
Yeah.
that's where our Bible Worker Training Fund is so valuable.
Yeah. And I would like to invite you to pray for the Bible workers, pray for the Bible worker training programs that we've talked about today. And if you would like more information about any of them, please contact us at Jesus for Asia, P.O. Box 1221, Collegedale, Tennessee 37315. Call us at 423-413-7321 or visit our website at jesusforasia.org. May God richly bless you until we see you next time on Jesus for Asia Now.